I won't. We're picking up where we left off last week, talking about time and God outside of it. So this is why Jesus is thought of as a slave, because he has entered into time as a slave to the finitude of creation, where outside of time, God is not a slave to anything. There is no time. Now God has entered into time, into the bottle, other times, right? Like when he speaks through the prophets, when he created a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire to lead the Israelites out, when he had the donkey talk to when the three men came on the road. We've seen those in our icon class, or the three angels on the road, or the Trinity on the road. All these are God entering into time, but after this is over, God goes back out. So now let's think of it in a very linear way that you can understand. So this is the edge of the rug right here. It goes from there to there. Now let's say that's time, all time, from the beginning to the end. Began here, boom, ends there, Revelation, boom. All right? So we are right here. Well, we're right here. A little closer to the end than we are to the beginning. So we're right here. So when we're in this place in time, we are standing like this. We can look back. Oh, look at that. And we can look forward, but looking forward is obscured. It's what we hope it is. It's what we want it to be. But we know it's forward. How do we know it's forward? Because we're going to be older by the time we get to that point. We don't know what's going to happen. But God is not there. God is over here, outside of time. So God, at one time, at one moment, God can see the beginning and the end. God knows everything that goes on in the middle, because God can look at all of it at one time. So when God came to you and said, okay, Gail, in 5 days, if you don't change this decision, there's going to be this terrible accident. But it's up to you if you're going to change or not. You're like, how does anybody know that? This guy's talking for God. That's ridiculous. And in 5 days, you make a decision to buy that extra gallon of milk, and there's a car accident. So how does that happen? Does God look forward and make it happen so it comes to? No, he's looked at it. It's already happened. All this has already happened to God. From the beginning to the end, it's all happened. Now, you can't wrap your mind around it, because even though it's already happened, God is still a participant in it. God is participating in time with us, while God is outside not participating in time with us. God is not making things happen, but as they've happened, God sees them as an event that's already taken place. But God is still in the event, in the time when it's happening. See? Can't do it. The main thing to remember is that God is not in time. God is outside of time. God is not a subject to time. When we die, we go outside of time. We jump outside the bubble. We go outside the bottle. So think of time as us just literally breaking the barrier. I'm here, I'm a slave, and I'm time in time. I die, boom, I'm going to go outside of time, and now I'm outside of time. What is eternity? Eternity is not time forever. Eternity is no time forever. If you think about eternity right now, you're thinking about you're going to be sitting in that chair and moving over there and having a drink and going and doing stuff forever. I'm going to have the chance I'm going to live forever. I'm going to walk around the world. I'm going to go see places and like that. There's no linear forever in it.
That kind of blows my mind more than the being outside of time and in time at the same time.
Yeah.
The eternity part is like.
Right.
Like if you went to dinner and then you went to another dinner, how do you quantify that? Because everything just happened at once.
You can't.
You
can't. This is the problem we have. Oftentimes people get immortal and eternal mixed up. Mm-hmm. Or they conflate the two. Immortal and eternal are not the same thing. Immortal means I live forever, in time. Eternal means I'm outside of time. So God is eternal. We can claim immortality if we lived forever, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go outside of time. Adam and Eve, if they were still in the garden right now, we would be too, by the way, we would be eternal because we are participating in God's eternity by eating of the tree of life. We're not immortal because there's no time. Yeah. So I know you're going, But that's okay. Just let it play around in your head. It's really just good to remember that God is not part of the timescape. God created the timescape. Just go back to the Big Bang. What was there before the Big Bang? If there was no anything, then there was no time.
There couldn't have been.
There couldn't have been. Time is a creation. Time is a creation that coincides with matter. That's it. So, I'd love to go into more of the Big Bang. It's so much fun. I'll just end this by saying that like I said before, scientists have absolutely no explanation for the Big Bang whatsoever. None. So when someone says you that they do and it's all explainable, not true. Completely untrue. Just a little note, same as evolution. No. Anybody who believes in evolution, okay, I just invite you to keep on reading, because when you get right down to it, you're going to find out there is absolutely no scientific basis establishing evolution. It does not exist. I guarantee it. There's a lot of bluster and a lot of this is what it is, but it does not exist. It is a proposal of the way things would be if we could find something out to make it that way.
Yeah, it's a theory.
It's a theory. That's it. Nothing else. So when people say it is, they're not reading. They're not doing their reading. They're defending a position because that's the position they want to defend. That's it. All right, if you look at this paper right here, Characteristics and Attributes Demystifying, this is taken from a lovely little series of lectures. You see, this is a synopsis of lecture 3 and 4. I'm not going to belittle that or labor that. Just look at the bottom of the page in red or above it, attribute. An attribute is a derivative aspect or feature of something. A characteristic is an intrinsic part of the nature of something. And then at the bottom, so in the generic religious sense, mercy is a characteristic of God because it is part of the very nature of God. But justice is an attribute of God because it is a manifestation in the world that derives from the characteristic of mercy. So let's look at this for time real quick. A characteristic is outside of time. An attribute is in time. The characteristic is what is intrinsic to God. So God's outside of time. So God is a merciful God. That's an attribute of God. But when God enters, or that's a characteristic of God. God enters into time and applies God's mercy. That's justice.
So it's kind of like how we see the characteristic used.
Yes, that's exactly it.
I didn't hear him.
It's how we see the characteristic used.
Oh.
How it becomes man.
Okay, I agree with that.
In our existence, how is the characteristic? So here, this is. I'll throw this at the stone at the wall. We know that a characteristic of God is love. God is love. John says it. God is love. Right? We know that God is love. Then God steps into the world, and the attribute is how that love is applied, and we go and blow apart by applying the attribute of love of God as we understand love in our finitude, in our finiteness. So we put all this stuff about what God is, what love is, but we're not talking about the love of God as a characteristic, the absolute love of God. We're talking about the love of God as it's applied in the world. How I love, and I see how I love mimicked in the way that something happens, I say that's God's love. But that's not God's love. That's the application of God's love. So to find out what God's love is, we have to stop doing that and move backward out of time and understand God's love different and separate from our love. That's what we don't do anymore.
And that's an interior understanding.
It is, but we can get to that, a much better understanding of it, again, through looking at scriptures and moving backward. Everything we know about God comes from scripture moving backward.
And that's the hardest thing for most folks to understand,
Yes.
that we're moving backwards.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But then with God outside of time, we're not. We're just moving over.
What do you mean moving backwards?
Well, if we're looking at what happened before the Big Bang, we don't know anything about it, but we look at Scripture, who tells us that God is this, God is that, God is done. We're looking back in time, through time, to the time before time, to understand it, because it's in Scripture telling us this is what happened. So there's no other way to do it. It'd be the same as talking about your background. So I say, Robert, clean these tables off and put them all away for us. And you're like, oh, Robert, he must be a good guy. I say, well, you know where he came from, you know what he was doing, and then now we have an understanding. We got to that understanding because of what happened in our time. We saw these things happen, we realized they happened. Now we're going back in time by explaining where he came from so that we can understand his motivation to do this. You know, what made him the guy who was going to come and help and clean and put things away. Or the opposite is true. What made this guy so angry and disgruntled that he doesn't help us at all? Which I've seen at the school board. All right, so hang on to that. Struggle with that. I have two more packets for you that have more on characteristics and like that you can have fun with as you go, as well as a few others. The omnipotence of God, the eminence of God is another one, and something else. But they're all coming. So let's go to today. Today we're looking at briefly the revelation of God as God has set forth the plan for human existence within the context of the book of Genesis, where God begins. Okay? So we have to set up something again. I'm so sorry, but it's just the way we have to work it. That there is an incredibly important and absolutely unavoidable portion of the interaction of God and the revelation of God in Genesis that pre-exists time. And that is the interaction between God and a certain angel or angels that created a dichotomous relationship. So we have Lucifer, the morning star, the most beautiful angel, who rebelled against God and through a series of events was cast out of heaven. And there is an animosity from Satan, and by the word Satan, it's not a name. Satan is a descriptive term that means adversary. So if you read Scripture, a lot of time you'll read Scripture, you'll come across and they'll say, he's a Satan. He's a Satan. You're like, Satan? That's just a guy selling pancakes. He's saying he's an adversary. He's an adversary. He's not Satan. He's an adversary.
In Job, it was used like that.
Yes.
Like you could say, "You're my Satan."
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what did Peter get called? Get behind me, Satan. So he wasn't saying, get behind me, you are Lucifer, the morning star cast from heaven. He's saying, get behind me, adversary. You are against me. You are trying to stop me. Yeah. So Lucifer fell from heaven through a whole bunch of really it was free will on the part of an angel to say, I know it's better. I have a better will, I have better understanding than God does. I should really be God. So we have this problem that went on in heaven. Isaiah 14, 12 through 15. How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to earth, you who once laid low the nations. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the mount of the assembly and the utmost height of Mount Zephon. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. But you are brought down to the realm of the dead, to the depths of the pit. Okay, that's in Isaiah 14. Ezekiel. This is what the sovereign Lord says. You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom, perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone adorned you. Carnelian, chrysolite, emerald, topaz, onyx, jasper, lypsis, lazuli, turquoise, and beryl. Your settings on the mountings were made of gold. The day you were created, you were prepared. You were anointed in the garden as a guardian cherub, so I ordained you. You were on the holy mount of God. You walked among the fiery stones. You were blameless in your ways in the days you created, till wickedness was found in you. Through the widespread trade, you were filled with violence and you sinned. So I drove you in disgrace from the mount of God and expelled you from the garden of as a cherub and among the fiery stones. Your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted in your wisdom because of your splendor. So I threw you to the earth. I made you a spectacle of you before the kings. By your many sins and dishonest trade, you have descended from the sanctuary. So I made a fire come out from you and consume you. I reduced you to ashes on the ground in the sight of all who are watching. All the nations who knew you are appalled at you. You have come to a horrible end and will be no more. So this is looking back from the time of Ezekiel and the time of Isaiah. God is recounting the events that took place in heaven with Satan. You hear it talking about humankind because remember that Satan doesn't stop interacting. The event took place before we existed, but the event is still going on because Satan is still interacting with us. So we have proof of that easily. Again, the devil took him up to an exceedingly high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And he said to him, all these I will give to you if you but fall down and worship me. And Jesus said to him, away from me, Satan. For it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only you shall serve. And the devil left him, and behold, the angels came and ministered to him. So this is that Jesus is baptized by John in the river Jordan. He goes out into the desert 40 days and 40 nights, and he's tempted by Satan. This is the last temptation. It's really important, and not the only place that we have this, because he says, if you bow down to me and worship me, I will give you all of this stuff. And Jesus does not say, posh, you idiot, you can't give me anything. This is all mine. I mean, he made it all. All belongs to him. All of creation belongs to Jesus. But he did not do that. He did not correct Satan. The only thing he did was say, you should not tempt the Lord your God, which happens to be me. So Satan says, oh, shoot, didn't do it, got to go. Why does he say that? Because this world is the playground of Satan. Satan has free reign in the world over us and everything that goes on here. That was part of the rebellion process. This is what, when corruption entered into the garden, which we're going to get to in just a minute, when he entered into the garden and corrupted Adam and Eve, and what transpired is what made us, Satan has free reign to stay in that process. Yeah.
So you keep referring to Satan.
Is
Satan a name and an adversary?
Yeah, I mean, synonymous with Lucifer now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just when you read it in Scripture and you read other places the word Satan, we think of it as synonymous with Lucifer, but in the Scripture it's not. For us, it is. Yeah. Because we've misused it for so long and so many centuries that it's just what it is. We don't. I mean, that word for adversary just isn't used anymore. Yeah. Like, think of it this way: if the word was adversary, and that was the word that was used back then we'd be using some other word, and we would be saying adversary came and adversary went, and we'd be talking about Lucifer. So it's just an application of a word that's been used so often it becomes like Coca-Cola. I'll take a Coke.
What do you mean, any kind of?
Yeah, Pepsi, RC, whatever. And so if they have more than one, they'll have to say, do you want a Pepsi? Do you want an RC? If they only have Coke, they'll give you a Coke.
What about devil?
Yeah, devil's also a much later term. It's a descriptive term. A devil is a adversary, usually affiliated with being evil, with something despotic. But
so really only Lucifer is the technical term.
Yeah. Yeah, and we should always remember that Lucifer did not become a red-horned, taily guy that's all ugly and gross and nasty. He is still the most beautiful angel that there is. If you saw Lucifer, you would be enamored. Just absolutely, unbelievably beautiful. Not in a sexual or sensual way, in a perfection way.
He's an angel. He's
an angel. And among angels, he is the most beautiful. Or angels are oh gosh, what's the word? I can't remember. They don't have any bits. They don't have any parts. They're not male or female.
Oh, eunuch.
Yeah, but the eunuch is someone who has a part, then it's taken away.
Okay.
So a hermaphrodite is somebody who has all the parts. This is the opposite of that, and I've lost the word. So angels don't have the parts. So it's not a male or a female. This is why if you look at the iconography.
It's a Ken doll.
Yeah. If you look at the iconography and they depict angels, they look like men. They have the stature of men, but they usually have a beautiful face like a woman. And it's the painter trying to show that they are both, that they have the attributes. They have the attributes of both, but then of neither.
Androgynous?
Androgynous, thank you. They're androgynous. They're made without that. Okay.
And sorry. You said Lucifer has like free reign over the world.
Yes.
So could he materialize in front of you?
Yeah.
Just like Jesus.
Sure.
But isn't it God sees and hears everything?
Yeah.
But Lucifer can hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
He can do anything around you, but not in your mind or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. Here's another. This is really, really important to remember about Satan. Satan's direct counterpart is Michael. Satan's direct counterpart is not God. God created the angels. Satan or Lucifer is just an angel created by God, just like we are. Created just like we are. His direct opposite is Michael. And Michael is already whooped him in one fight. So we're looking at a power,
A seesaw.
a disconnect. Yeah. Well, when we think that you've got Satan is fighting against God, he doesn't care about Michael. Lucifer is fighting to change the trajectory of creation that is God's trajectory. But it's a losing battle from the very beginning. There's no way that Satan can ever win, because Lucifer is just a creature.
Yeah, God's on a different level.
Absolutely. There's not even a close level. It's impossible. It's kind of like us and an ant.
Yeah.
If an ant suddenly said, well, I'm going to get you one day, I'm going to take over and make toast in the oven and do stuff, you're like, you just keep on wishing that, because it's not going to happen. It's a broken. It shows how corrupted Lucifer is, because Lucifer in some way believes that he's going to win, and that's completely gone.
So Lucifer can assume human form
Mm-hmm.
and interact with humans and hide his real intention.
Yes.
He can't influence your thoughts,
No.
but he can influence your actions.
Yes. Yes. Well, there's a way. I can take that back. Angels and devils apparently can influence your thoughts, but they can't manipulate you to the extent that they're making you do something. Think of possessions.
But like they can't see what you're thinking.
No.
But they
No,
can
this
give you a dream.
Yes. This is a wonderful thing in Screw Tape. Screw Tape, talking to Wormwood and Screw Tape Letters, says at one point, I can't remember, letter 13, letter 9, where he says, it's in letter 1. He's got a man. He said, I watched. You be careful, because I had a patient, and I saw my 20 odd years of effort going the wrong way, because he was in a museum and he was looking at a painting, and it had an impact on him. He was beginning to think of spiritual things, eternal things, and it was coming up, and that's opening the door for God to act. And so he said, so I hit the man at the place where I had the most control and said, this is all too important to do before lunch.
Yep, that's the first one.
And he said, he perked right up and started to move, and then he said, but he stopped. He said, he said, presumably God said this. And then he goes, you know how you can never really hear what he says. So it's God can speak directly to us and influence us that way. But Satan or the devils can only suggest in a way that is an inference to us, but not a one-for-one thing for us. That's at least one of the theologies that talks about it. So it's just good to remember that we can be influenced, and we are. So keeping our foot in the right column and depending on God is the right thing, always the right thing. I'm feeling like I'm being called to do this thing. It's a temptation, and for some reason I'm losing the battle. You should immediately start praying to God to overcome. Say, Lord, I think I'm going to do this. I'm being tempted to do this. And when you're saying I'm being tempted to do this, you're not just talking about yourself now. You're talking about another force, which would be a demon or Satan, and say, I don't want to do this. Take this away from me. I say, get behind me, Satan. Lord, put Satan away from me. Put this away from me. And I can tell you from my own experience that it works. If you're left only with your own temptation at that point. It drops down a lot, because you're not being pushed anymore. Okay. All right, so having told the story of this creation, okay. So in the very beginning, what does God say? Basically, I'm God. How does God say that? He doesn't say, Genesis 1, hi, I'm God. God says, I'm God, because in the beginning, God does something. God creates. And when God creates, this is the notification. I'm God. And before everything else was, I am. And as I am now, you are not me. You didn't make all this. I made all this. And I'm God. So this is the very beginning. And we know something about God right now. God is a God that shares. God shares God's self. God could have made everything and not taken credit for it. We could all be sitting here going, I don't know how it happened. Look at the other religions in the world. So many of the other religions, they do not claim, even in their most esoteric form, to have a definition of the creation of the universe. The gods of other faiths exist in time. Their They're a God who exists doing something. I won't belabor the other religions that are concurrent with us, but think about like Norse or Greek gods, right? You have Zeus and his brothers and sisters who rise up and kill his father, and then Zeus kills all of his family, right? All his siblings, and then Zeus creates the other gods. They're all less than Zeus. They're like little progenies of Zeus. Well, who created Dad? It only goes back one more generation, and just says when they start their thing, that's who there was. There was. One of the religions in Australia is that the world was created by the goddess in the world, creating the world. And then when humans were created, I won't be too graphic about this, but she was pregnant, and she just ran around the world, dropping out people as she went, and it populated the world. And it's very interesting. Their religions are in the world. Christianity is not in the world. Judaism is not in the world. The God of pre-existence outside. That God says, I am communicating with you about the reality of who I am. That's how our God starts. Our God is a communicator. Our God is a reality separate from our reality. 6 24-hour days. There are really 3, there are 9, there are 25 different theories about the creation of the world, of the universe. I'm going to give you only 3 of them. Or 4 rather. God is the young earth theory. These are very interesting people who say that the earth was made in 7 days, 7 24-hour day periods, and that's it. So the earth is 7,800 years old. That's it. And it doesn't matter what carbon dating says. Doesn't matter what all these fossils say. The world is 7,000 years old, and God created it literally in a 24-hour day. So that's one. The gap theory. This is in between what's called the old Earth theory and the 6-day theory. Old Earth theory says that the gap theory says that the world was made in 6 days, but that God inserted all this time between the days. There's gaps. So everything was created in a day, and then a million years went by. And it was created in a day, and a million years went by. And then created in a day, and a million years went by. So they're saving the 24-hour day and inserting this big gap in between. It's just to like put this on the right place to go. And I'm worried to stop really soon. Just to put this in the right context. In the beginning, the cosmos was black. It was null and void, and there's nothing there. And then God created everything, and it was night and day in one day. There's no sun. How long a day was it? So it's really hard to put the creation of the cosmos in one day. I don't know if you ever really, I should have brought a Bible. There's got to be a Bible.
They're up there. Below on the top shelf.
Oh, thank you. King James. Okay, listen to this real quick. I know you guys have never thought about this. All right. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, and that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and darkness he called night. So the evening and the morning were the first day. Okay, did you get that? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's not part of the day. That pre-exists the day. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formed and without void in the face of the deep, and God, the Spirit of God, hovered over the face of the earth. All of this happens now. God created the heavens and the earth is God creating the cosmos. After the creation of the cosmos, God focused in on the earth. Now everything's happening. It's all created. Now God's just working on the earth, and God is creating the light for the earth and dividing the earth, dividing the sun from the light from the dark. That's the day. The day doesn't exist in the cosmos. This is counter the gap theory and the 6-day theory. When God creates the heavens and the earth, there's no day. We can't. Yeah,
It's just there.
It's just there. We can't determine the time that God creates the heavens and the earth. That's like saying, I bought the land. Okay, now I'm building this house. Buying the land and building the house is the big thing I've done, but we're really just talking about the house. The house is the earth. So God creates everything, but there's no sun. You can't say it was a day. There's nothing there. The next thing God does is he works on the earth and creates a sun. The sun on the earth, he divides the sun on the earth, the day from the night, and that creates one day. So the God creates the cosmos and the earth. That's not in part of the day. That's outside the day. Okay, so it's not 7 days. It's 7 days plus some amount of time, which could be 40 million years. Right? That's the gap theory. Day-age theory. Days in Genesis are millions of years. God creates. It's not a 24-hour day. It's 40 million years. And the last one is the framework theory. Remember, there's a lot more than this. Genesis is showing us authority and power. So it's a framework, which is where we're coming at this today, and we're going to go next week. And I'm going to stop so you won't miss anything. The framework theory is that God is creating in Genesis, no matter what else is a physical reality, the time, the hours, the days, the framework that God is setting up is to let us know who God is. God is revealing God's self. Remember, God's a speaking God. God is setting up the framework by which we can understand who God is and thereby relate to God as God intended for us to relate. Not how we think we need to relate or we want to relate.
It was a method. Why God did. There's a reason.
Right.
There's a reason.
And that's the determinant. This is why we're spending a block of time at the beginning of this time together. We have 10 or 14 meetings together. And this is why this is taking up 2, and now it's going to take up 2.5 times, because we have got to have this down. The pre-existence, the preeminence of God to creation, and the revelation of God in the first 9 chapters of the book of Genesis. We've got to have that down in order to have a honest relationship in our understanding of God as we move forward. If we don't have that, we're starting off messing it up as we go. That's just it. I think in a seminar, one of the professors said in a life story, I think it was Murray Newman, that he saw he's an archaeologist, and he saw a famous archaeologist on a dig, and he wanted to meet him, and the man had only one leg. And he was very interested in meeting him, but he knew that there was issues with that, and that he had to, he couldn't go see him. It was other things that were going on, and he wanted to give him time. Must be a big deal. When the guy would retire, he wouldn't go see him because he knew he was taking his leg off and all this other stuff. And so that's how he related to him in his mind and in his actions. He changed the way he was. But he found out when he got close to the guy, he didn't have one leg, he had 2 legs. When he saw him from a distance, he saw him with something in the way, and it was a mirage, and he was limping, and it looked like he had 1 leg, and so he thought he had a stick leg, he didn't have a leg, but he didn't. He misunderstood the reality of this man, and it changed everything that he did in his reaction to him until he met him. We don't want to wait till we die to find out that we have been interacting with God incorrectly because of something we didn't learn in the beginning. We're just assuming this stuff about God, and a lot of it's not true, like that thing I told you about love. We don't get that straight, and it's not straight. The church has messed up so much in our lives, in people's lives, in the world, because this whole thing about God's love is all based on the attributes and not the characteristics. All right, so we'll meet next week. We're going to finish up this thing 1 to 9 in Genesis, and then we're really going to start moving along fast after that. We have big chunks. All right. Thank you, everybody.